Japanese Etruscan Connections, from the book OBI-ICHI, Way of the Shadow Warrior, by Frankie Traino. I am not a great person like great people come, yet I am a goodly person. I am a practitioner of Shinto and on Myodo. That's what matters. That fact alone is enough to make me stronger. I work to be the best I can be while maintaining that knowledge and develop it towards its maturity through life experience. Remember to always have that nin, perseverance within. Ninpo no kokoro is the way of the eternal persevering heart within. My passion for history and architecture led me to connect the dots, tracing the lineage of civilizations. I claimed that those who fled the ruins of the Etruscan Empire had founded Japan, and that the Japanese people, by extension, were part of my extended family. Japan is the land of the rising sun, the promised land of Gion, derived from the word Sion, hence Gion Matsuri every year. On some of the floats of the festival of Gion Matsuri, we can still see images of the lost tribes' migration through the Silk Road into Japan.
Locus vestais, qui servat pallada. Hic locus vestais, qui servat pallada. Haec fuit antiqui.
The legendary winged tengu, or long-nosed goblins of Japan, represent the spirit world, as is also evident by the cap worn on the tengu's head, and the tengu handing out the Torah no Maki scroll, which represents the Torah of the Hebrews. These tengu can also be witnessed not only in Etruscan and Japanese art, but also in Sumerian art called Anunnaki, handing out the authority to specific people to establish civilizations. Sumerian art. Two types of winged Anunnaki, one with the face of a man and the other with the face of a bird. Japanese art, two types of winged tengu, Dai tengu and Karasu or crow tengu. It is my belief that the crow tengu are originally the women. Etruscan art, two types of winged beings, Charun, a male deity, and Vanth, a female deity. Notice the parallels between all three of these. People need to learn that if something looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. This saying first rang true to me when I compared some Etruscan music to ancient Grecian and Japanese music. I found that they were the same and very well related. They use the same type of beautiful pentatonic scale and make use of the awesome sounding so-called Devil's Interval, which was actually banned by the Catholic Church in the past. Then I looked for other connections and began to see that the devil was indeed in the details. I began to see how they all lined up, for instance, comparing early Etruscan Turanian facial features, Etruscan wooden architecture and Japanese wooden architecture, including the foundational polygonal stone walls, including Etruscan religion to Shinto beliefs and cultural characteristics in sexual behavior. As can be seen, the artwork is very similar to Etruscan artwork, and the person on the right is wearing the same kind of wreath. The red tengu mask on the left is actually a representation of a Hebrew, which I discussed further at the beginning of this author's foreword. I found that they were more than merely similar. I believe that Japan was the original Garden of Eden, called in Japanese Eden, which means identity, genealogy, heritage. Now that, to anyone who understands what Eden was about, cannot be a coincidence. There are no such thing as coincidences. Like that of Shinto, the Etruscan deities are invisible and omnipresent. In holy groves, caves, and sacred springs, they are given prayers at day and thanks at night. In order to understand the way Etruscans thought, one must learn to understand Japanese Shinto. The kami, deities or ancestors, of Shinto are the same as the Etruscan and Greco-Roman deities. For instance, Susanoo, god of thunder and storms, is Zeus, or Zeus Anu, who is Jupiter. Amaterasu, with her magic mirror, is Diana, only that she is represented by the sun instead of the moon. And this happens sometimes in cultures. Princess Kaguya of the moon is actually Minerva, Athena. Some of these details were revealed to me by the kami themselves, so it's up to the listener whether they want to believe me or not, and the rest is up to your own personal research, and it can take many, many years, and also having to be part of these cultures in order to actually understand them. You have to actually practice the spirituality. And for me, it might be a little bit more obvious. I would expect the so-called experts to understand. However, it seems that they do not have the individual aptitude in order to understand these obvious facts. To learn more, read my other book, OBI-ICHI Shinto. However, in this book, I have provided the foundation of Japanese spirituality, complete with prayers, spells, and cultural themes of vital importance, etc., with some Etruscan influence. Behold, the household of Saturn. It is said that Saturn shall arrive in the form of a raven or crow. This is the three-legged crow, Yatagarasu, that Amaterasu or Kami apparently sent to the Western Emperor, Jinmu Tenno, as a guide. Although it was actually Tsukuyomi Omikami, the moon god, who sent it, considering his nature and association with oracles and the mysteries. The three legs of the crow represent the three pillars in Hebrew Kabbalah. Therefore, the wisdom of the Tree of Life was granted to the Western Emperor as a guide for his life. Yatagarasu is also known as the eight-span crow. Naturally, elements of Kabbalah are heavily ingrained into Onmyodo and Shinto traditions of Japan through these Tengu. The experienced viewer who is familiar with both cultures would notice obvious parallels, even with the fire letters of Hebrew and Japanese hiragana, which are related. On another note, we find another Etruscan-Japanese connection regarding runes and Japanese Jindai-moji script, also known as Kamiyo-moji, writing of the ancients. Both the Etruscan writing and Kamiyo-moji use runes, although the runes of the Kamiyo-moji are reversed, sideways, and upside down, yet still runes nonetheless, as it is believed by some scholars that the Rasenna people invented the runes and introduced them to other cultures, including the Scandinavians, both who were among the best seafarers in the world. The Turanian people introduced metallurgy to the Vikings, wooden architectural designs, and even into bread. Here is a picture of the Icelandic artist and singer Björk, and you can see by looking at her the obvious Turanian features. So this does exist amongst various Germanic peoples. We are going to discuss in particular the words katsu and baka. In Japanese, the word katsu means true victory. In Italian, the word katsu means in between one's legs, which forms the V shape. The groin area was used to swear an oath in ancient Etruria and Rome. When a Roman, for instance, made an oath, they would place their hand on their toga in between their crotch. The term testify derives from swearing an oath on one's testicles. Thus, in Japanese culture, we find a direct connection concerning the V for victory, which forms the V shape in between one's legs, and when combined with the Roman meaning suggests the victory of thy loins. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds ridiculously funny, but it is the truth. The Japanese word baka, meaning fool, derived from the god Lord Bacchus, when the Saboi had Bacchic rites and everyone fooled around and dressed up like clowns, having a crazy time. More can be found in the book OBI-ICHI Shinto, the Etruscans themselves, who were the kami or ancestors. The Etruscans were masters at inventing languages and religions, etc. Selective breeding. In ancient Japan, not everyone had black hair and brown or black eyes. In fact, there were many Japanese people with various hair and eye colors. It was only later on, with the rise of the yayoi, which is a generic term for the common oriental, that it began to be phased out, eventually by force. To this day, in most Japanese schools, if people have brown hair, they are forced to dye it black. And the same thing applies in China. Even in China, some people are born with brown hair, blue or green eyes, and there are many Mongols who still have red, blonde, and brown hair with various eye colors. The common yayoi look in regards to black hair with brown or black eyes was the result of African DNA mixing into the gene pool. Only the slightest bit of DNA from a black person is required to alter the entire gene pool forever. This is why people should really consider who they are introducing into their country and who they are breeding with if they are happy for their descendants to stay as they are. People need to stop thinking this is a racist remark, as it is our right to adopt selective breeding to empower our own race and culture, whatever color people may be. Another part of selective breeding is when people mix two specific races together who are suitable to get particular traits. I am just telling the truth, and the truth can be hard to accept because of the way it makes us feel. Feelings, however, play no part in the truth. This is about the survival of our race and what makes us who we are. I fear that in the future people will not know who they are anymore, as is part of the New World Order's plan. When people are confused, they are easily manipulated. Racial and cultural empowerment is a danger to them because large groups of people who think alike, with one mind, who know who they are the hardest to manipulate and can easily rise up against them. Utopian separatism is the best way to go. I consider myself a utopian separatist and an imperialist. Japan should consider closing their gates again, as they did in Edo, due to the rise of Lord Ieyasu Tokugawa, who taught the Japanese a valuable lesson. For the name Ieyasu refers to Iyasua or Yeshua, which is why their beautiful traditions have outlasted where so many have not. The same goes for other countries. It doesn't mean some people cannot visit, it means closing all ties with the United Nations and immigrants. The reason we like to visit another country, or what we love about that culture, is their uniqueness, and it is that uniqueness that must be saved. I don't want to go to a country and see it overrun by foreigners who don't represent the values of that culture. When I go to Italy, I want to see Italians. When I go to Japan, I want to see Japanese. When I go to Germany, I want to see Germans, etc. As the Mediterranean people, or orange race, a mergence between the yellow and white race through selective breeding, we have the gift of love, Venus, balanced with the gift of warriorhood, Mars. Through the passage of time, the legends of the Aryans' influence and divine nature spread across the world. Their descendants, known as the Turanian people, would leave a lasting legacy in Etruria, Italy, and later on in Zipang, known today as Japan. The Western Emperor, Jinmu Tenno, set up his imperial court in Gion, and it is said that the Izumo gods declared the Ninigi line, to which he belonged, as the rightful heirs and guardians of Japan. Examining the depictions of Emperor Jinmu Tenno, clasped tightly in his hand is a bow adorned with the Etruscan Roman eagle, a cryptic symbol representing their Etruscan ancestry. The migratory journey of the Etruscans from ancient times to Japan is an untold story, hidden beneath the layers of history. Furthermore, the emperor is depicted wearing a toga, which stands in stark contrast to traditional Japanese attire. It is said that the sun goddess Amaterasu Okami's spirit found a new vessel, a she-wolf. This she-wolf lived in the wilds of Etruria, Italy. It was in this form that Amaterasu suckled two adopted sons, Remus and Romulus, who would go on to found the great city of Rome. This is a story of two brothers to spread their seed throughout the realm. Remus and Romulus, Abel and Cain, Jacob and Esau, the Toi di Danaan, Danites, and the Fomorians, Canaanites, represented by the colors white, Romulus, and red for Esau. They are not enemies, they love each other, yet they are at variance with each other, and they are playing a game. As the Romans conquered the Etruscans and the surrounding lands, the tale of the she-wolf of Etruria lived on, while some of the Etruscans, Canaanites of the house of Manasseh, made an exodus into Japan. This is why the Japanese chant Issa, Issa, Issa when they carry the ginger shrines through the streets during a Shinto parade. Issa is Esau, yet everybody else in the world forgot about the Esau god. After the founding of Rome, the she-wolf of Etruria became known as the she-wolf of Rome, forever enshrined in the city's lore and history. The image of the she-wolf suckling Romulus and Remus became an enduring symbol of Rome's heritage and origins. She was Lady Diana Primigenia. Yet deities have been deceiving. They have fallen and have been corrupted, therefore cannot always be fully trusted. We find the Roman glass beads that were found in the Kofun tombs in Japan. Here are some of the Etruscan Roman glass beads found in the Kofun tombs of Japan. We also see the relation with the Kofun keyhole-shaped tombs in Japan and the keyhole-shaped well in Sardinia, Italy. Here is a keyhole-shaped well, Sardinia. This once looked like the keyhole-shaped tombs in Japan. However, over time it had been run down to its foundation and eventually altered. Our people, the Etruscans, or Rasenna, my ancestors, went all over the realm. This was something that was known back then, and it was no mystery. Yet, it has been forgotten because it has been purposely blotted out. Relations is a beautiful thing, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. The very word person finds its origin from the Etruscan word perso, I revealed. They were a people heralded as the builders and the remnants of Tyre, also known as Tyre. Tyre means rock, which is a fitting explanation for the original stonemasons. Tyre flourished as a marine metropolis and a bustling economic centre in ancient times. The world's famous purple dye was the most important export at the time. It is important to note that the Etruscans were of the same stock. The Tyrannoi, dubbed Tersonoi by the ancient Grecians, held themselves as the chosen people of the goddess Circe. From their devotion to Circe sprung the word for circle, which later evolved into church. The Tyrannoi abbreviated to Traino, I revealed, the descendants of Lord Tyrannus such as myself. the same people that can be found within the Taira clan of Japan. The real Taira no Masakado was actually a Tyrrhenian with blonde hair and green eyes, and the word tyrant derived from both the Taira and the Tyrrhenoi. It was just a way of giving the Taira and Tyrrhenians a bad name. They don't like the Taira and Tyrrhenians because they're the true royalty. Moses arrives in Japan. When Moses, or Musa, arrived in the promised land of Gion of Japan from Egypt, he immediately started paying homage to the Etruscan Western Emperor. He then married one of the emperor's daughters. He was the son of the sun god Ra, who is Mars or Ares. The Japanese name of Musashi derived from him. Have you noticed that the samurai helmets look very similar to the heads of Egyptian deities? Now you know why. Gion is Zion. And the name for Akhenaten, the Red One of Heaven. Now, what does that sound like to you? The Red One of Heaven. It's the son of the sun god Ra. And it's the red color. It's Akhenaten. Akhenaten was Moses. It's Musashi in Japan. Here is a samurai helmet with the stag horns. Now the stag is a symbol of the house of Naphtali, and you will notice it often throughout Japanese Shinto. It is connected with the Egypto-Hebraic people of Moses. Here is a typical Egyptian reed ship. This boat was apparently also used as a funerary boat, just like the Vikings used real boats for cremation, or Mongols who were buried with their horses. Note that the sail has what appears to be the so-called sun of the Japanese flag. Some say it is Mars, the red star. With this type of boat, a person is supposed to stay inside the reed hut of the boat for safety. These boats are the best for long distance travel since they are near impossible to sink or break. Only by embracing the boundless potential of understanding can the full extent of humanity's collective heritage be realized. As the mysteries of the past unfold, the story of the yellow race, the Aryans, and the diverse people of Earth will begin to merge, painting a more complete picture of our shared history and illuminating the rich tapestry of our existence. Possess the right honshin, for only through right mindfulness can one receive the gifts of strength, knowledge, and peace. Frankie Traino, also known as Shigana, founder of Shindo Fushin Ryu Dojo. Thank you.